My name is Zoe, a 28-year-old elementary school teacher from a quiet Midwestern town. But beneath its calm surface lurked mysteries and secrets that would unravel everything I believed about my family. It all began on a chilly autumn evening when a phone call changed my life forever. My father, Liam Thompson, had been rushed to the hospital. As I sped through the dark streets, my heart pounded with worry. Dad had always been my anchor, especially after Mom died when I was just 15. "Please, Dad, hang in there," I whispered, gripping the steering wheel tightly. When I arrived at the hospital, I found Linda, my stepmother of 3 years, pacing the waiting room. Her usually perfect hair was messy, and her mascara had run in dark streaks down her face. "Zoe, thank God you're here," she said, her voice trembling. "The doctors won't tell me anything." Just then, a doctor appeared, his expression serious. "Are you Liam Thompson's family?" he asked. "Yes," I replied, my chest tightening. "I'm his daughter." "How is he?" The doctor's face softened slightly. "I'm sorry, but your father's condition is critical. We're doing everything we can, but you should prepare yourselves." The next few days passed in a blur of sterile hospital rooms, the sound of machines, and whispered prayers. I stayed by Dad's side, clutching his hand and recalling happier times. Linda was often on her phone, which I found odd, but I chalked it up to stress. On the 4th day, I had drifted off in a hospital chair when I felt a light squeeze on my hand. My eyes snapped open to find Dad staring at me, his gaze intense. "Zoe," he rasped, his voice barely audible. "Listen, the safe in my office. The combination. Your birthday. You have to." Suddenly, alarms blared. His eyes rolled back, and his body went rigid. I screamed for help as nurses and doctors rushed in, pushing me aside. Through my tears, I watched them try to save him. "Clear," the doctor shouted, applying the defibrillator paddles to Dad's chest. His body jerked, then fell still. "Time of death, 10:47 p.m., the doctor said solemnly. My world shattered. I collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Linda wrapped her arms around me, but her embrace felt cold, mechanical. As I struggled to process the loss, Dad's final words echoed in my mind. What was in the safe? Why was it so important that it was the last thing he told me? At the funeral, a strange tension lingered. As I stood by the graveside, I noticed Uncle Robert standing at the back of the crowd. Our eyes met, and a chill ran down my spine. There had always been friction between him and Dad, but the look he gave me was darker, a mix of anger and triumph. That night, unable to sleep, I made a decision. Tomorrow I would open the safe and uncover whatever Dad wanted me to find. I had no idea that this would set off a chain of events that would expose years of lies, betrayal, and a conspiracy stretching far beyond our small town. The morning after the funeral, I stood outside Dad's office door, my hand trembling. The house was eerily quiet. Linda had left for a business meeting, which seemed odd considering the circumstances. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. His presence lingered in the air, the familiar scent of his cologne and the disarray of papers on his desk. My eyes fixed on the safe hidden behind a painting. With shaky fingers, I entered the combination. My birthday. The safe clicked open. Inside, I found a stack of documents and a sealed envelope with my name on it. My heart pounded as I tore it open, revealing a handwritten letter. "Zoe, my darling daughter, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I pray I had the chance to tell you in person, but if not, you need to know the truth. Your life is in danger. Linda and Robert are not who they claim to be." A sudden noise downstairs startled me. Footsteps. Panic surged through me as I shoved the letter and documents into my bag, quickly closing the safe and replacing the painting. The door burst open, and Uncle Robert stood there, his face a mask of concern. "Zoe dear," he said smoothly, "I've been looking for you. The lawyer's here for the will reading." I forced a smile, my mind spinning. "Of course, I'll be right down." In the living room, a stern-faced lawyer I didn't recognize sat beside Linda, who dabbed at dry eyes with a handkerchief. Robert guided me to a seat, his hand on my shoulder feeling more like a warning than comfort. The will reading was a blur, but one thing became clear. Everything, every last penny and property had been left to Linda. There must be some mistake, I protested, looking between the lawyer and Linda. Dad would never. "Now, Zoe," Robert interrupted, his voice sickeningly sweet. "Your father wanted to ensure Linda was taken care of. I'm sure you want that too, right? Linda reached over, patting my hand. Don't worry, dear. I'll make sure you're provided for. I yanked my hand away, bile rising in my throat. This was wrong. All of it. As soon as I could, I fled to my best friend Emily's house. Her eyes widened as I poured out the entire story, showing her dad's letter. Zoe, this is insane. Emily gasped. You need to go to the police. I shook my head. With what proof? A half-read letter. I need more evidence. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced, recalling all the odd moments from the past few months. Linda's hushed phone calls, the secretive glances between her and Robert, and Dad's increasing paranoia. Something was definitely wrong. The next morning, determined to get answers, I drove to Dad's office. As I approached, I spotted Michael, Dad's old friend and longtime lawyer, walking out, looking puzzled. Zoe, he called out, hurrying over. I'm so sorry about your father. I just heard. Michael, I interrupted. Did you know about the will? His brow furrowed. What will? Liam asked me to draw up a new 1 month ago, leaving everything to you. But we never finalized it. He was adamant about protecting you from something, but he wouldn't say what. My blood ran cold. That's not the will they read yesterday. Michael's eyes widened in shock. Zoe, what exactly is going on? Before I could answer, a black SUV screeched to a halt beside us. The tinted window rolled down, revealing Robert's cold smile. Zoe, Linda's been looking everywhere for you, he said smoothly. Why did you come with me? We have so much to discuss. I glanced at Michael, seeing my own fear mirrored in his eyes. In that moment, I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't trust anyone, not anymore. My heart pounded as I stared at Robert's menacing smile through the SUV window. In a split-second decision, I grabbed Michael's arm and bolted toward his car. Drive, I shouted as we scrambled inside. Michael didn't hesitate, peeling out of the parking lot as Robert's SUV roared to life behind us. What on earth is going on, Zoe? Michael demanded, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. I quickly filled him in on the fake will and Dad's cryptic warning. Michael's face paled. This is bigger than we thought. We need help. We picked up Emily and regrouped at Michael's office. As we pieced together the puzzle, a chilling picture emerged. Robert, drowning in gambling debts, had teamed up with Linda to steal Dad's fortune. But how far did the deception go? We need proof, Emily said, her investigative instincts kicking in. Security footage, handwriting samples, anything to show the will was forged. Michael nodded. I'll pull Liam's banking records. If there's been any unusual activity, we'll find it. As they worked, I remembered Jessica, Dad's longtime assistant. If anyone knew Dad's recent movements, it would be her. I called Jessica and arranged to meet her at a quiet cafe. Her eyes were red-rimmed as she slid into the booth across from me. I've been so worried about you, Zoe, she said, squeezing my hand. Your father, he knew something was wrong. He made me promise to give you this if anything happened to him. She pressed a small flash drive into my palm. Back at Michael's office, we huddled around the computer as I plugged in the drive. A video of Dad filled the screen. Zoe, if you're watching this, I'm gone, Dad's image said, his voice thick with emotion. Linda isn't who she claims to be. She's been married multiple times, always to wealthy men who died under suspicious circumstances. She's working with Robert, but I don't know how deep the conspiracy goes. Be careful who you trust. I've hidden evidence in the old cabin. I love you, sweetheart. Stay safe. The video ended, leaving us in stunned silence. We need to get to that cabin, Emily said, already grabbing her coat. As we drove to the family's secluded vacation spot, Michael's phone rang. It was the private investigator he had hired. You're not going to believe this, Michael said after hanging up. Linda's real name is Eleanor Blackwood. She's wanted in 3 states for identity fraud and embezzlement. At the cabin, we found a hidden safe containing documents that laid out Robert and Linda's entire scheme. Armed with this evidence, we decided to confront Robert directly. We found him at Dad's house, frantically packing a suitcase. His face drained of color when he saw us. It's over, Robert, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. We know everything. Robert's shoulders slumped. I never wanted to hurt Liam, he said, his voice breaking. But the debts. Linda said she could fix everything. I didn't know she was planning to. He couldn't finish the sentence, but the implication was clear. Dad's death might not have been natural after all. Suddenly, tires screech outside. Through the window, we saw Linda speeding away in Robert's SUV. As sirens wailed in the distance, I realized this wasn't over. Linda was still out there, and she had nothing left to lose. The truth about Dad's death was still shrouded in mystery, and I was determined to uncover it, no matter the cost. With Robert's confession and the mountain of evidence we'd gathered, justice for Dad was within reach. But as the police car lights flashed across the darkening sky, I couldn't shake the feeling that the most dangerous part of this ordeal was yet to come. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings and police interviews. I stood firm, presenting the evidence we gathered to the authorities. The forged will was quickly invalidated, and Robert faced the consequences of his actions. As I watched Robert being led away in handcuffs, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. He had betrayed our family in unimaginable ways, yet in the end, his confession was crucial in bringing down the entire scheme. The search for Linda intensified, her face plastered across news channels and billboards. It seemed like she had vanished into thin air, but I knew it was only a matter of time before justice caught up with her. 3 months after Dad's death, I finally got the call I'd been waiting for. Linda had been arrested, caught trying to cross the Canadian border with a trunk full of cash and fake passports. The officer on the phone assured me that with all the evidence stacked against her, she'd be facing a long time behind bars. With the legal battles finally over, I inherited Dad's business and our family home. Standing in his office, surrounded by memories, I made a decision. I would use part of my inheritance to start a scholarship fund in Dad's name, helping underprivileged kids in our community pursue their dreams. It felt like the right way to honor his legacy, to continue the work he had been so passionate about. As the months passed, I found a new rhythm to my life. I threw myself into teaching, finding solace in my students' bright, eager faces. They reminded me daily of the good in the world and of the difference I could make. In the evenings, I pored over the books of Dad's business, determined to keep his legacy alive and make it something he would be proud of. 1 year to the day after Dad's passing, I stood at his grave, a bouquet of his favorite flowers in my hands. The pain of losing him was still there, but it had softened, mingling now with a sense of gratitude for the time we had, for the lessons he taught me, for the strength he left behind. I whispered a promise to him that I would continue to fight for what was right, just as he had. The story of Zoe Thompson's fight for justice had come to an end, but as I stood there, I wondered, if you were in my shoes, would you have forgiven Robert? Despite his betrayal, his eventual cooperation had been key in unraveling the conspiracy. Or do you believe his actions were unforgivable, regardless of his later remorse? What would you do? Share your thoughts below.